Hi, I am Amelia Fabriches, and this is Module 16, Case Study Internet Use Violation. What do you know? Roosevelt is a high school in a very nice neighborhood. It has a prestigious reputation. It is one of the best schools in the state. Principal Forbes has recently won awards for being an outstanding administrator. He prides himself on recommending the best teachers for hire to the school board. Miss Walker is a second-year teacher that he recommended for hire with an extensive education beyond undergraduate studies. She has completed her master's and is working or had done some work even beyond that. She currently teaches 3 upper-level science courses. She requires a lot of rigor and work from her students at a high knowledge of content, and she teaches in a very serious manner. Students at Roosevelt, especially in upper level courses, have high pressure and expectation from themselves and their parents to not only succeed, but to be the best. Many are competing for the valedictorian position in their class. What do you need to know? Principal Forbes has received some concerns from parents and about their students' grades being too low in Miss Walker's class, and that her teaching style is not what they would like to see and is more or less no good. Dr. Forbes then has discussed techniques with Miss Walker in an attempt to address the issue. Certain students have displayed some distaste for Miss Walker in her class due to the rigor and students not having the grade that they want. Over a long weekend in November, an anonymous website was created and sent to Miss Walker via email and a link. When she opened the email and opened the link, the website exploited her and vulgarly talked about Miss Walker, both regarding her personal and professional life. And then eventually she was threatened with the comment, "Who wants Miss Walker to disappear?" After Miss Walker saw the website, she immediately called her principal, concerned. He then opened the website. That they brainstormed what students this could have potentially have been. Miss Walker suggested a student who had been snide in the past and who was rather tech savvy. Principal Forbes tried to calm Miss Walker by telling her that he was confident that it was just a prank and not a genuine threat. They made a list of students that he would meet with the next day at school. The problem. The big problems here include the fact that Miss Walker has been threatened and bullied on the internet and feels unsafe. Also another problem is the question of whether the law enforcement should be involved and if it's a legal issue. Also, a student or students have clearly not used technology appropriately. And at this point, that student or group of students have not been identified. Finally, Miss Walker's classroom is clearly not going well. Students and parents are not happy with her, and she has not been able to connect with her students, and therefore they have not been able to be successful. They do not seem to respect her, and her instruction is struggling. Plan of action. The first step I would take would be to meet with Miss Walker and talk about recent instances that may have sparked this issue. Then I would discuss potential creators of the website. I would also really try and comfort her and make her feel as safe as possible. I would also discuss ways that she might be protecting herself professionally. I would inquire to see if she was involved with any teacher unions and things of that sort. The second step I would take is I would have her meet with her mentor teacher, who would have already been assigned to her since she is only a second-year teacher in the district. I would set up a time during their contract hours that they would meet regularly. I would have the mentor observe her several times over the course of the next few weeks and give her feedback on a specific rubric that both Miss Walker and I have created and discussed. I would require Miss Walker to do some self-reflections on her teaching every week. This would also include the environment of her classroom. I would also provide her with resources and strategies to help her and her students be successful in the classroom. The fourth and final step I would take would eventually be to address the issue of internet bullying and the abuse of technology for the entire school. This is not something that should be swept under the rug, but we should learn from the situation and be reactive in order to prevent future issues. To resolve the issue, first I would find out what the board policies are regarding internet bullying and threats. I would also communicate to the board of what has happened, what is going on, and give them the most specific details I can. I would also find out if this was a legal issue. I would be communicating with the local law enforcement and seeing if they needed to be involved. If it was only concerned with the school, I would then determine the consequences of the actions in this particular case. I would be working with a tech expert in the district to get to the bottom of who was responsible for this, and then we would take actions after finding that out. I would also then send a letter home to parents in the district. The issue of bullying on the internet and threats being made should be confronted, and parents should be aware that there are consequences for students who act in such a way. However, the letter would not explicitly regard any of the details of this instance. I would keep Ms. Walker and any students involved out of it. It would be a general topic, and it would be to be reactive in this, but also to inform students and parents at home that actions are being taken. Once again, I would have our students eventually be informed of what internet bullying can all look like. I would advocate for the use of the internet in positive ways. I would meet with teachers to communicate to them the value and the importance of classroom environment, and then also remind them of ways to protect themselves and make sure they're doing so and having safe practices of education just as reinforcement. I would eventually do something probably after the issue had been settled to build school morale. I would do a school-wide assembly, a project, even a game of some sort to simply build morale and to keep students and faculty feeling positive and successful, and to make sure that we are all on the same page. Reflecting upon this issue, I think in this case I would have taken a lot of ownership in this. I would feel as if I had not been proactive enough in promoting a positive classroom environment. I would have hoped that I would have helped Ms. Walker to resolve the issues with students and parents before it got to the point of her being threatened publicly on the internet. Therefore, I would be very concerned with Ms. Walker's well-being. I would have hired her and obviously saw her potential and would feel bad for not helping her reach her potential at this point. I would try and use this to push her, my staff, and mostly myself to be better and to be more aware and to ultimately be more proactive in student success and classroom success. Therefore, I would put more professional development things in place that would truly benefit teachers and students and the effectiveness of their classroom teaching. I would also take ownership in the lack of student success and learning that had been going on in the classroom. I would also really try to alleviate stress within the school and even the district. I would also be reaching out to other schools and school leaders. I would try and get some advice and discuss the issue that we as a school were presently dealing with to see how they might handle the situation, see if they've dealt with anything similar to it before, and to ultimately solidify what the decisions are that I'm making based on board policy, and to give me some reassurance and some confidence going into that. Personally, I could relate, can relate to Miss Walker in a lot of ways. I am a second year teacher and I'm fairly fresh and young. I teach government to seniors in high school and have high expectations and high rigor in my class. Students often air complaints about the work that they have to do. However, I have mostly really positive and really good student relationships. Therefore, I am never worried about students genuinely being snide or potentially threatening me. They complain because they're going to complain. I don't actually feel like they're being ruthless or snide towards me. However, I understand that finding that balance of rigor and being um, a, and being over the top can be difficult to master. But ultimately, a teacher must have a positive teaching environment for the success of their students. Also, I would really emphasize student accountability. Students must be and will be responsible for their actions with every decision they make. There is a consequence. I would also really promote positive communication. Hiding anonymously behind a computer screen is not a good habit, and it is not a good communication skill for the future. Standard 5, integrity, fairness, and ethics. Ultimately, I must and will handle the situation with integrity in a fair and ethical way. The issue will absolutely be confronted as soon as it arises, and an investigation will be done. There are consequences, and I am determined with the help of the school board, law enforcement, and other school leaders, to put those consequences in place. Whoever is involved will be held accountable. No one will get off the hook. Ms. Walker will also receive some resources for her well-being, but also to improve her student success in her classroom. Ethically, I think I am obligated to confront the overarching issue, which is internet bullying and the abuse of technology. Therefore, I must advocate for safety of teachers and students and the appropriate use of technology. And then that final component, the concern of students and teachers and their success must be at the top of the list of concerns. The environment of the school and the classrooms is extremely important. Therefore, I as a principal must be empathetic to students and teachers as humans and be able to build trust and keep morale alive and well and positive in the entire building. The first standard I chose was to promote and model effective communication and collaboration among stakeholders using digital age tools. We must communicate effectively, and we must model how to best use technology. Adult behavior is more important than student behavior. To be proactive, we must be aware of our actions and to promote appropriate behavior. The second standard I chose was to act with integrity and fairness in supporting school policies and staff practices that ensure every student's academic, social success. When an issue arises, a school leader must act ethically. A leader cannot be biased, they must be honest, and they must act fairly in regards to the school policy for both the good of the faculty and the students. That is my Module 16. Thank you for watching.